the New Testament, excuse me, we hear about Jesus' disciples, and we hear about Jesus' apostles. Often these terms are used interchangeably, but they aren't the same word. By strict definition, a disciple is a student, a pupil, a learner. Those who followed John the Baptizer, those who followed Jesus, who listened and took it all in and expanded their minds, they were their disciples. An apostle, on the other hand, is defined as someone who is sent out. We presume that before one is sent out, they have first been a disciple and learned. At least we hope so. We hope that the cable repair guy that the cable company is sending to us has been trained and is able to fix the problem and not make it worse or waste everybody's time. We hope that the doctor who comes to us in the ER knows what she's doing and earned good grades in med school. We hope they are no longer just disciples and learners, but they have reached a status of being successful learners, where they are ready to put into practice and use all that they have learned. Traditionally, the word apostle refers to one who was historically and physically part of the inner circle and present with Jesus from his baptism to his resurrection, with the exception of Paul, who has his own unique story. But as we read in Luke today, there are not just 12, but there are 70 who are sent out. Apostello is the Greek verb used, which is where apostle comes from. And they are sent to towns and villages, all sorts of places, to prepare the people for Jesus. This group has been listening and learning, and now they are paired up and sent out to share the good news and to bring peace. As my youth pastor used to say, get 'em, grow 'em, and go 'em. For these 70, it's time to go 'em. I want you to imagine with me for a moment that you are one of these 70. You have heard this teacher, and you are pretty sure that he really is the Messiah. And because of this, you have been changed. You have hope. You have strength. You have identity. And so now you're figuring it would be easy enough to head home and to rest assured, content in your newfound knowledge, where for the rest of your life you will know that there actually is good in this world. And you're planning on starting to read an inspirational daily devotional. And maybe you'll attend synagogue an extra time a month. And you'll set aside time each day to pray. But will your friends and family and neighbors even notice that you have changed? Will they see any difference between you and anyone else who does not have the newfound knowledge that you have? But before you can go, Jesus stops you. And Jesus tells you that he has a job for you. Jesus needs you to go into different places, areas you wouldn't normally go, and to actually use your voice and to tell people, strangers even, about how God loves us all, with no ifs, ands, or buts. And then Jesus tells you to not worry about bringing anything with you, especially anything that might make you feel safe or secure or comfortable. In fact, don't. Because this is an urgent matter. You don't have time for any of that. Plus, it's not all about you feeling safe and secure and comfortable. All that you have been taking in, all that you have learned, well, it's time to put it into practice and actually use it out in the world. And to be honest, this may ruin some of your Saturday evening plans. And it's not going to be easy. And there's not going to be a whole lot of cash flow from it. Jesus is calling you to go to people who might look differently, with different values and different traditions, who have really weird food that you've never tried before, and now you're going to have to eat it. And you're question your safety. You may have to face your xenophobia, face your fear of the other, and face your fear of not being good enough and of failing. Because Jesus also mentions that you will fail time and time again, but to keep going, because it's time. And so do you go? Well, if knowing Jesus hasn't really changed you, then what's the point? But if you do believe, if it does make a difference, and if you believe knowing makes a difference, and if you have been changed, well then you know that nothing can keep you from going. So, back to present day. What about now? Here in this place, we remember our baptism and how we have been claimed as God's children who are known and loved with no ifs, ands, or buts. And we have learned about how Jesus taught us all about God's love and grace. And here we share a meal where Christ is present with us in the bread and the wine. Here we have been called and gathered, enlightened, and made holy. We have been gotten. We have grown. We have learned. And so now it is time to go. It is time. If you have been changed at all, you know it is time. It's time to put aside any silly, irrational idea that you can do it all on your own. It's time to step away from any thought that you're not smart enough, or talented enough, or worthy enough, or that you won't really make that much of a difference. It's time to take that adventure to new places where Christ is calling you, to people who maybe you know already, or maybe you don't know, into situations that might not always be so comfortable, in order to share the good news of God's love and grace in word and action. Because like the disciples, we are disciples, and we continue to learn and grow. But we're also like those 70. In our baptism, we have been sent out. In the strict definition, we are apostles. And we've got to go. Are you ready?